Mano Mateo, good morning, and how are you, faithful? In fact, I don't even know why I'm asking that question this morning. I know how you guys are feeling. Well, most of you, because I think it's about 99% of us that are feeling this way. There's a little 1% that isn't quite sure. But let's get into the reason why we are feeling so good this morning. That is right. The 49ers have officially hired back Robert Saleh to be our defensive coordinator. Came in early last night that he was coming back. We don't have to worry about him being poached, about him getting another head coaching job. They went ahead and made it official. Not sure what exactly changed. But Mr. All Gas, No Breaks is back. We've got the energy on the defensive side of the ball back in the building. I'm happy to have Robert Saleh back. Now, I know I have been slightly against the Robert Saleh hiring, and that's not anything against Saleh or what he could bring to this defense. It was simply the fact that with what we're hoping he can do when he brings the defense back up to the credibility and where we want it to be, we're right back in this position next year. And as far as getting a new DC, but however, with that, if he was to leave again, that does not mean we get the compensation picks for the Rooney Mood or whichever one it was, whichever the actual name of the rule is, or if a minority coach gets promoted, you get compensation picks. The only way that comes into effect is if Saleh is here for 2 years. And honestly, if our defense is where it needs to be, and say we win the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff, he is going to be the hottest coach damn near ever. So again, what we're hoping he brings back means we're stuck in this position again next year. But as far as just bringing back Robert Saleh, yes, he's one of obviously he's a good defensive coordinator. Things didn't quite go the way he wanted to in New York. Not necessarily all his fault. There was some stuff with their owner. Woody Johnson is absolutely terrible. He's 100% at this point probably the worst owner in the league. He meddles where he's not supposed to. Apparently, he's got like his kid running Madden simulations to determine draft picks and all this kind of stuff. There's that whole story. Um, but yeah, so I'm not putting everything that went on Robert Saleh in New York to be on his fault, and obviously the whole Aaron Rodgers issue. But again, he's back in the building. Spent a year, or not a year, but a little bit of time with the Green Bay Packers this season after he was let go by the Jets. Actually worked on the offensive side of the ball for a while. He broke down opposing defenses in and then presented it to the offense. So it's another notch for him going into what could possibly be his next head coaching spot, to where he's a defensive side of the ball kind of guy. Now he's got experience working with the offense and coaching offense. So again, it just gives him more stuff. He comes back here. He leads a pretty talented team, especially one that if we're going to rebuild through the draft. Young guys. You see the way he acts on the field. With him being like that doesn't necessarily do great things for like vets or something like that. But you get these kids fresh out of college. This is the kind of stuff that pumps them up tremendously. It's one of the reasons why Pete Carroll, who, as you know, or if you guys didn't know, Robert Saleh was the defensive coordinator underneath, or not the defensive coordinator, but he was a quality coach up here in Seattle for 3 years under Pete Carroll. Guess where he learned how to be like this? Pete. That's exactly how Pete Carroll is. So that's it. Um, Speaking of other things, because we could go on about Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is back, happy again. I understand the people who don't like him, who thought that that think his time in New York softened him. But again, it's a different position. You know what I mean? When you're a head coach, you can't necessarily act like this all the time. Yes, Harbaugh did it, but it's different. You know what I mean? That wears out. You have to be more of the CEO as the head coach. But again, Robert Saleh is back in the Bay. We're ready to go. Let's get this defense. And he has complete autonomy over the defense, everything defense, basically. So we are not expected to bring Brandon Staley back, which kind of makes sense for both Staley and Saleh. You don't want two big heads like that in the room at the same time. Not that they necessarily couldn't get along, but both of them have extensive backgrounds. They've both led teams. They've both been DCs of head off or head defenses. There could be something with clashing with there. You know what I mean? So you want that one voice in there, and so by him leaving or being let go, however you want to say it, um, that gives Saleh that one voice coming from the defensive side. apparently he's going to have control over like the draft picks, supposedly on the defensive side of the ball and all that kind of stuff. So again, he will be running the defense next season, and I can't wait for it. All right, going into some actual other news. Speaking of poaching, we'll get to that in just a second. Uh, one of our defensive quality coaches, KJ Wright, will be attending the Reese's Pieces Senior Bowl as a linebacker slash edge coach. As you know, he played that for the Seattle Seahawks for many years at a very high level. I like you, coach, but I hate you at the same time. It's kind of it's like the Richard Sherman stuff all over again. Like, I appreciate what you're doing here, but man, a part of me still looks at you and sees that Seahawk up there. But yeah, so he's been our coach for a year. He's going to be going to the Senior Bowl. He's going to have hands on with these linebackers and edge players. Excuse me. So we're going to get firsthand look at these guys coming up, which now gives us two coaches at the Senior Bowl. We have both KJ Wright and then our special teams quality coach, August Mangin, I believe. I think that's how it's pronounced, as Mangin. So we're going to have two coaches there who are going to have hands-on in everything that's going on, especially when it comes to like the special team stuff, because they only do like 20 minutes of special teams a day, and that's like at the end of practice. So what do you do the rest of the time? The rest of the time, you just kind of watch it. You're going over here checking this guy out. You're going to go over here and check this guy out. So especially with Mangin, he's going to get a lot of time to float around with some of these guys and take a really good look, because we don't have anybody necessarily on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm going to expect he's going to be floating more towards the offensive side when he's not doing his special team stuff, and then while KJ Wright is mostly going to be linebackers and edge, he's going to have his eye on DBs, the safeties, the interior defensive linemen. So basically we're going to have one scout on for each team, for each part of the team. Sorry, it was a late night last night with a bunch of us. We kept, we got the news, got us all excited, and then we just stayed up really late, and now I'm up again early. Now, the one thing we're talking about poaching, obviously, if you guys have not heard, Pete Carroll has been hired as the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's going to be an interesting thing. Did he take that job simply for his hate for Pete or for Jim Harbaugh? We'll see. We'll see how that rivalry continues now. Will someone like KJ Wright go over to Pete Carroll and join his coaching staff? He very well could, especially if he's given a promotion. My phone's going off this morning all of a sudden. So that is one thing to look out for as far as KJ Wright, is that will he be poached by Carroll going over to his coaching staff and whatnot. Another thing to think about with KJ Wright is that at some point we have to talk about who's going to be the successor for Saleh. We do have a few other people in house. Brian Bullock's. I can't think of the other guy's name that's young in there. I want to see, it's our DB's coach. The name escaped me. But we have quite a few guys in there that could, would one of them be the successor? Could KJ Wright be one of the successor to defensive coordinator for the Niners? We don't quite know yet, but I do know that we definitely need to get somebody in place to be the next DC. Because at the most, it's going to be 2 years. And I think it's going to be next year. I think this time next year, we're going to be announcing a new DC with everything that's going on with, like I said, with as hot as we are hoping and expecting Saleh to be coming into next season. All right, Faithful, that is it that we've all got here for today at Niner Faithful Radio. We got nothing going on this for the weekend. So enjoy your weekend. Unless some crazy stuff goes on, I probably won't do an update tomorrow morning. Wait until Monday. We're supposed to be getting a special team announcement for who our coach is going to be sometime next week. I think they're just going to do one big press conference where they're going to actually bring forth, Saleh as the DC. They're going to name the special teams coordinator and then rename Kubiak the offensive coordinator. In my opinion, that's what they're going to do. They're going to do it all at one time with everybody, get it done, get it over with, and then they can stop this, and start moving on towards the combine and the draft. So that's what I'm hoping for early next week. We get to get all those answers, and then we can start talking about that. All right, Faithful. Y'all have a good weekend. Fa Fatah Te Lava. One love.